Hey everyone, so today New Wave Toys just put on sale the standard edition of their Q*bert Replicade mini arcade cab. Q*bert is one of my all-time favorite games, so I happen to know a thing or two about it. And here I have the Warren Davis edition of the very same product, the Q*bert Replicade from New Wave Toys. What's different about this model is that there are a few changes to the exterior because it's supposed to look exactly like Q*bert creator Warren Davis's exact machine that he owns himself, but otherwise it's the exact same product. Unfortunately, the reason I'm creating this video is to express my disappointment with the final product. This is the mini cab I was looking forward to the most, and across all the retro games coming out, and unfortunately it came out less than perfect. But let's get one thing out of the way. The exterior is fantastic. This is first and foremost a product from a toy company, and they did a fantastic job with that part. The materials are authentic and high quality. There's real wood, the decals are great, even the artificial wear looks great. See if I can take a little bit of a look at those. And I have to mention, there's a mini knocker inside, you probably heard it already, that kicks when a character leaves the pyramid and drops to the bottom, which is nothing short of adorable. So that's all great, which makes the rest of it even more disappointing because they hit so many high notes with this. So here's the problem. All these classic games ran on CRT monitors at low resolution on their original hardware. All these new mini cabs run with LCDs that do not have the same resolution as the original games. So because of the difference in resolution between the original game and the LCD on the mini cab, it's possible for distortion to be introduced in the graphics, and that's exactly what happened here. Now, if you take a look at this here, this is the Taito Mini Egret 2 cabinet that released last year, and the approach that they took with this was simply to kind of throw up their hands and ignore the problem. So that leaves some distortion in the graphics, and if hopefully it's if we're lucky enough for them to bring up one of the text screens again, you're going to see that the text does not look uniform, and the size of some pixels can differ from other pixels. But if you're having trouble seeing the effect on this screen, what I can tell you is that this is a pretty high resolution screen. It's much higher res than is typical for these mini cabs. So because the resolution of this screen is so high, the effect is not all that dramatic, and when you're focusing on the game you're playing, you tend not to notice all that much. So it's kind of acceptable despite the unfortunate effect. So at any rate, now here next to this I have the Quarter Arcade's Ms. Pac-Man from Numbskull Toys. And they have the same issue, that the LCD is not the same resolution as the original game on the original hardware. What they chose to do is introduce a blur filter on it. So as a result of this, the image is not as sharp as it would be if there had not been the blur filter on it. However, what you can see is that the distortion is gone. In addition, I think the effect actually looks pretty good because what you have at the end of the day is something that looks kind of similar to a CRT with slightly blurry graphics where you can't see each individual pixel. Just like the arcade games in the 80s themselves. So it actually looks kind of authentic, and I love the effect. Now, next to that, I have the Quarter Arcade's Bobble, also from Numbskull Toys, from the same line. And unfortunately, this unit does not use the same blur filter that the Ms. Pac-Man has, and that leaves the graphics distorted. So you can see the issue here. The text doesn't look uniform. You'll see that when the best 5 screen comes up in particular. The characters shimmer when they move, and everything looks kind of choppy in a way that was not seen on the Ms. Pac-Man. Yeah, you can definitely see artifacting on the text here. So I contacted their customer support about this, and they acknowledged the issue. They, admitted it was a problem, and they said they were going to make it right, but that they wouldn't have the resources to do so until 2023. But that they were going to make it right, probably with a firmware update. So I thank them for their honesty, and I will patiently await the fix. So finally, we are back to our Q*bert from New Wave Toys. And, well, once again, no blur filter. So you can see that the distortion is most definitely there. Definitely on this text here, it is super easy to see. And the shimmering in the graphics doesn't seem to occur as much when the characters are moving horizontally, but it definitely does show up when they're moving vertically, which is happening constantly in Q*bert. And it's noticeable to me every moment that I'm playing the game. Let's face it, it is a defect. And so I contacted the New Wave Toy support, and it seems that they contracted out the software to a third party. And I waited for literally weeks for them to discuss the issue with the developers, having to follow up. And finally, they got back to me, and ultimately they said they have no plans to address this issue with a firmware update. So I think it is a foregone conclusion that even though this is the Warren Davis edition of the cab, that this same issue will be present in the regular edition. So, yeah, basically, I looked forward to this with a great deal of anticipation, only to wind up with a defective product that New Wave Toys will not stand behind. So, now I'm debating putting it on eBay. And it's a real shame, but the reason I made this video ultimately was to warn you all about this before you spend your money on a defective product the way that I did. It's unfortunate that New Wave Toys does not care about the final product as much as they do the exterior. And don't get me wrong, the exterior is great, but I actually really wanted to play this a lot. So what I'm hoping is that a few years from now, maybe a more competent developer will take a stab at a mini arcade Q*bert so that we'll have another chance at a finished product. But in the meantime, I would advise people to avoid the Replicade line of products because of issues like this. So, but you know what? If in the future they decide to stand behind their product, I will make sure to update this video. I would definitely recommend the Quarter Arcades line from Numbskull, though. They're very solidly built, very authentic, and they stand behind their products. So, yeah, definitely give them a look. And thanks for watching, and I hope I was able to help you out by creating this video. Take care.